I describe Jim? There's so many ways to describe him because he's such a fabulous personality, right? He's genuine, he's smart, he's kind.
Nice, honest, and generous, extremely generous, and smart. There you are.
He's a loyal person, very dependable. You can count on him if you're going to do some task, like he helped with our 50th reunion, you put him in charge and he just takes over and everything gets done.
Well, he's a great leader. He's a really hard worker, and he's really smart.
He's a good numbers guy. He's the one that keeps track of golf scores whenever we golf in a group. There's nobody better than Jim in making sure everybody is accurate in their scoring.
When I wrote the essay for this thing, I mentioned that he'd gone from birdhouses to barbershops because when he was in high school, he went to junior achievement and they were building birdhouses, and we kind of made fun of him then. You know, it was kind of a silly little project. But it led for him to get into the business world. He learned about that, and then he turned it into his Great Clips venture where I think at one time he owned 39 stores. So I called it going from birdhouses to barbershops, and it was kind of a American dream kind of story.
I had the opportunity to participate in a presentation that was done in the auditorium here at Heights for an organization that I knew nothing about, but it was called Junior Achievement.
A really cool thing I think about Jim from Junior Achievement's perspective is that he is the story of success.
The story goes, I was asked, would you lay out these components of this birdhouse that we would assemble? We'd buy the parts pre-cut. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do that. And so I laid out the components of the birdhouse. So for doing that, they made me the assistant production manager, which is the first title I ever had in my life. That production was then going along fine, but we had a quality control problem. And the quality control problem resulted in the fact that after we assembled the birdhouses, we would stain or paint them, and getting into the nooks and crannies of the birdhouse was not done well. So as I was laying out the production line one day, it occurred to me that if we stained or painted the components before we assembled them, that would solve the problem. Well, I was a hero in the company. They thought I was an engineering genius for coming up with this idea. But then as the winter went on, our inventory built and our storage facility got full of birdhouses because we'd all finished selling to our friends and neighbors. So a fellow who was a senior at Edison, who was in the J Company, said, Jim, let's go sell these door to door. Well, we wound up selling out the inventory. At the end of the school year, they had a big awards banquet. 1,000 people, I think, were there. They had an award for the company that had made the most, J Company, out of whatever number, 40, 50 companies there were in Minneapolis, that made the most progress during the course of the year. And it was called the Rags to Riches Award. And so when it came time to name that company, they announced that it was J. Birdco, lo and behold, our company. And our adult volunteers, the advisors, had told me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, go on up and get that award for our company. Well, to this day, I still get goosebumps telling the story because it was just the biggest thrill in my life to that point, in terms of just the excitement that it created, that something that I had level of involvement with was being recognized. Not that anybody knew me there really, or I knew anybody, but the fact that I was being noted for some level of performance. And that was certainly a major turning point in my life, and inspired me to understand that if you put in enough energy and enough effort and enough ingenuity, that you can accomplish all kinds of things.
It kind of goes full circle, right? From a shy high school kid to being willing to learn and experience different things, and constantly applying his values and his learnings to ultimately drive his success in life. And Junior Achievement has been a very fortunate beneficiary of that.
You never know when your learning comes into play. Jim, after graduating from the Carlson School of Business, was drafted during the Vietnam War. So he went down to Texas to train as a forward night radar person. So he was out in front of the troops looking for enemy, which was like the worst job you could have. So when he got to Vietnam,
Well, I got called out of a formation and yelled, "Hemak, come on over here!" And so I did, and went into this hut with screen walls.
the officer looked at his resume and said, "Oh, you can type."
I said yes. They said, put me on a typewriter and gave me a typing test and said, "What about working here?" And I said, "Sure."
They grabbed him and put him into the office to do typing. So that was the good news.
So typing at the high school at Heights got me into that position.
Jim and I met 34 years ago at a Burger King. We had a cup of coffee. Neither one of us could afford to buy lunch or dinner at that time, so we settled for a coffee. That's how we met. It was to introduce Jim to Great Clips. He was one of our first multi-unit franchisees. He built a great business in 2 different markets.
I invested with Jim in his initial stores. We had a great partnership, actually. He did all the work, and I stayed out of his way. So it worked out very well, you know.
You know, there's so many times when Jim has helped me along the way as Great Clips was growing in the early years. I think one of the things I remember most about Jim's contributions is when we were first starting, what Jim did was he realized that we were a team and that his success was not only dependent upon Great Clips Inc.'s success, but dependent upon the success of other franchisees. And he put that belief into action by spending a lot of time mentoring and helping franchisees as they started their business. He traveled all around the country talking to new franchisees and kind of boosting them up when they felt like they were just going to, you know, it was too hard to keep moving forward. He was the kind of guy who would go out and talk to them, and he said things to them that encouraged them and kept them moving. There's a lot of franchisees, if you could talk to the franchisees in our system, there's a lot of franchisees who were ready to give up until Jim Hemak sat down with them, talked to them, and kept them moving.
The role teachers had in terms of influence on myself and classmates at the high school were significant, particularly in a community like Columbia Heights, where it's historically always been a working class kind of community, where there's not necessarily a lot of people in highly educated professions. Certainly a great deal of, or a large number of the students that I was in school with went on to be teachers because they in fact were the role models. This has been a wonderful school, and it's a wonderful education that I received in high school, and I'm very much indebted to all the people involved with it for it, because it's made a really significant impact in my life.
Jim is kind. Jim is fun to be around. Jim, one of the things also would attract me to Jim, he likes to laugh. Anybody like that I got to hang out with. But Jim is just a warm, wonderful guy to be around. He's a great friend, a tremendous friend.
Congratulations, Jim, on this award. It's totally well-deserved.
Jim, congratulations on this wonderful award. You're well-deserving. You've done so much for Great Clips to help us build our business. You've done so much for Junior Achievement.
Congratulations, Jim. We are so proud of you at Junior Achievement. You are so deserving of this honor. In fact, I think we're going to put your name on our new building because of this. Congrats.
There's nobody who would be a better role model for the kids at Columbia Heights High School than you. Congratulations.